Hi and welcome to my soul tribe. My name is Miriam Rose. If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe, set your bell on all, like, comment and share, as I really appreciate all of your support. Now let's get on with the video. Greetings, dear ones, I am Kryon of the Magnetic Service. It is difficult to give information that is beyond what you expect. Even after it is given, it is unknown whether it sticks in your minds or not. For some of the information is advanced. The last 2 times I have sat in front of you, I have given summaries. However, this really isn't a summary at all. It is the next step. I'm going to call it the human soul revealed. The information really begins to explain something that is unexplainable, but we must tie it together, and I wanted to do it this year. The difficulty of communication. I want to start with an example of what we're trying to do. I want to tell you about the soul. I would like to tell you in terms that I have never used before, but I can't. You don't have the words or the experience or the energy to relate. In addition, you really have no concept of where you're going, not really. Yet it is so beautiful. An example, let's say, for a moment, pretend with me. Just pretend that a ship lands from another planet. It's friendly and out steps a humanoid couple. They give you their names and where they are from, and they speak your language. But as you gaze upon them, you know very well that they do not have the seed of God in them that you have in you. It is not part of this scenario. Yet they have intelligence and they are interested in humans. But you can see that it's mostly academic and there is no real compassion. Pretend for a moment they are safe and they are on an exploration mission, and you are the only human that is able to talk to them. Just pretend. They're going to get everything they know about humanity from you. What is it that they might ask you? Let's pretend. They know all about human history, and yet they have one burning question that only a human can answer. They tell you this: as long as we have been watching and studying humanity, there is still one great mystery to us. There is one thing we have not understood. Please tell us about love. Where do you begin? Well then, what kind of love? Are you going to tell them about the love you have for the planet, love for your partner, love for the animals in your life, for your ancestors, for your mother and father? Is it for those who you have lost? How would you begin? How many kids of love are there? What are the differences? Even at that, when you start to try and tell them, and even if they had plenty of time, where would you begin? How would you describe the invisible emotional field of love? You could say whatever you wanted to say, and they might listen, but they won't understand. You see, they don't have the concept. When you fall in love, there is a thickness of spirit, something palatable, yet invisible and unprovable and unmeasurable. You look into the eyes of your newborn, and there is love, and there is instant communication. Love has a field around it that's beautiful and it vibrates. 2 humans together form a bond and actually create a third energy when they come together. Love communicates long distances instantly. It is more than language. How are you going to describe it? Let us pretend they sit there and listen to you. As long as you want to talk, they're taking notes. When it's time to go, they thank you, shake your hand, and they mean it. They are grateful. Their research is done, and then they fly away. Can you imagine what they are saying to each other? They are not any closer to knowing about love than they were before they landed. This is because everything you have said is not discernible. They can't fully recognize something they have never experienced. They can only hear about it and academically know about it. This is the puzzle today, and all we have for you is only what you can absorb. So we go to their third language, the one intuition and spiritual understanding at the heart level. We want you to understand as much as you can. The review. Let us review what we have said about the human soul. The soul is not part of that which is corporeal, yet it resides in you at a corporeal level. So it's not chemistry and it's not intuition. It's none of these things that you have studied. It's something you can't understand yet, since it doesn't fit into any box you have created for yourself within your third dimension science. It's a piece of the Creator, the creative source, which is responsible for all that is. Long ago, the creative source built a beautiful benevolent system, and it needed a universe in order to accomplish it. Now you have galaxies and planets and life. All of those were put together over time, accomplished properly and not accidentally. The creative source that built the planet still surrounds you. The galaxy that you are within is inside you too, in certain ways, and it hides. It hides because it's part of the test of the planet for you to discover with free choice what is there. To make it hide even more, there is only a certain percentage of information you can handle, so you are not even even aware that you don't know everything. You're not aware of its grandness, of what it is, but you are aware of it intuitively. For intuitively, each human feels that there is something more. Dear human being, as far back as you can look at your history, you came onto the planet and you looked for the Creator. It was an intuition inside. This is because the Pleiadians came and gave you altered DNA and the knowledge of light and dark. This is the creative story, and this awareness makes you search for the source all of things. The human soul permeates everything about you. It is not locatable and is pure multidimensional energy, sacred energy beyond anything you can ever measure. It is not a scale that you have ever seen. You don't have a word for it. You don't have colors for it either, since it's too far above any sensory perception that any human will ever have. But it is the love part that you feel and sense. You can't explain that at all. It's conceptually beyond your thinking. You simply can't explain your soul, and you can't explain the Creator, but you know it's there. Your soul has no gender. It's generic and beautiful and filled with splendor, and it's inside everyone. Dear ones, it is inside me. I'm not a human yet. It's inside me. I speak to you from a position of honor and gratitude. I have never been a human, and sometimes I can't believe what you go through. Astonishing to me is that you would have signed up for this. But the soul is bigger than anything you can imagine. It is the engine of compassion for the universe. The DNA connection. Is the soul part of your DNA? Yes, of course. Your DNA allows soul energy to be carried in a certain way with each human. I have identified the layers it resides in, but that's not all. It is in every chemical in your body. It resides in the energy of your consciousness in ways you don't know. It is accessible in ways you don't know, and it loves you beyond measure. I cannot tell you what it is because, again, you don't have the concepts to understand it. But if you could think for a moment of the most beautiful colors you have ever seen, that would be the wrapping it comes in, the most benevolent force you ever felt, that would be the door to the soul. The most love you have ever had for anyone or from anyone would be the opening words it would speak to you. It surpasses anything you have ever experienced on the planet, and the Pleiadians knew and understood this. With permission from creative source, they gave it to you a long time ago. Your DNA was altered, and you now have 23 chromosomes because of it. Dear ones, the things I give you today will sound outlandish, beyond weird and strange to many. We are prepared for that, but many of you have to hear these things. I'm talking to old souls, both listeners and in person. Not all of you will relate, but many can feel the truth. I want to tell you who you are, and if I have given you this information before in this way, you need to hear it now. The beginning. When humanity was ready to be seeded by the Pleiadians, you were simply part of the animals of the planet, designed to be at the evolutionary stage you were. You were indeed the top of the evolutionary ladder. You were way beyond that of cavemen, and you were ready. You looked like you do now, and acted like you do now. But according to plan, you were ready. In the scheme of evolution, it really wasn't that long ago. You were a human being ready to receive something that only a few planets have had. And you had 24 chromosomes, as the apes do, right below you on the scale of evolution. The beginning of the process was 200,000 years ago. 100,000 of them were just getting the process ready so that you would arrive at only one kind of human instead of many kinds, like the other animals have. Even your science asks this question on why there are no human variants, as nature produces with everything else. But esoterically, here is the question. When it was time to build Lemuria and the seeding took place as it did, who do you think was here to receive the seeds? Do you think it was just regular humans who had come up through Earth's biological evolutionary process? Was it just another animal by chance to become the Adam and Eve of the planet? The answer is no. It was you, and you incarnated from the Pleiades for this moment. I want to tell you something. When it comes to reincarnation, it's not limited to this planet. You were aware of that, were you not? You had to come from somewhere. When you have exponential growth of humanity, where do you think the pool of souls comes from? The answer has to be other places. Spiritual life does not emerge from nowhere. Souls are waiting and ready to be part of this planet. Reincarnation has been happening for millions of years with other planets. Long before 200,000 years ago, you came from the Pleiadians. You agreed to drop that which you had evolved to, come back into a form that was basic, and received the seeds. This was because you had to be of a certain kind of chemical readiness called soul remembrance. All these things you have never heard of had to be correct for the seeds to take. For the fusing of the DNA into the 23 chromosomes had to work for you and come into a biological body that would not be overwhelmed by it. The creation story. As we say, this is your creation story. So let's put it in simple terms so you can relate to the mythology of your time. Adam and Eve were special. They were you. They had arrived or incarnated fresh from another place, ready to receive the knowledge of light and dark. This process wasn't random, and your scriptures have told you that. That's who you were. You are not just old souls. You're very special old souls. You have come from the Pleiades, a system of stars you wouldn't believe. You came from everything to almost nothing, and you did it because you saw potential of today. How many lifetimes have you lived within the last 100,000 years? What have you been through to get today? It's vast. I want to tell you where it's going and the potential of where it can go. Then I want to paint some time frames for you, and I don't want to scare you with how long it's going to take. However, I want to show you the potential of what can happen, and this is where it gets odd. Life in the galaxy. Do you believe there is other life in your galaxy? If you're one that's waiting for the proof, that you might want to stop watching this video, for it's going to be a while before you get the proof you need. However, some things are self-evident. When you were young and went to the beach, did you postulate if there were other beaches on the planet? If so, did you therefore say, there are none until I prove it, and go see them all? No, you figured out that it's simply the way the ocean works everywhere. There are tens of thousands of beaches, even though you only see one. It's common sense. Well, life is that way within the galaxy, everywhere. It happened just like it did on Earth, with the same process. The thought of you being the only ones who have lived is absolutely against all common sense. Even still, you might say, I still have trouble with this whole idea. If so, then you are one of the humans who has been programmed to accept the mythology of creation above scientific probability. There is no judgment with this, but it may delay the grandness of your self-realization. When I say Pleiadian, who do you think about? What do you picture? Perhaps a creature with humanoid form, only a bit taller and very wise. Perhaps they come here in vehicles, or instantly without vehicles. If they come instantly, as they indeed do, what might that tell you about what they have that you don't? The Seven Sisters. Let me paint a picture about your seed parents. The Pleiadian stars, the Seven Sisters constellation, is actually made up of 9 suns. Of the 9, there are 3 main habitable planets, all settled by Pleiadians eventually. There have been a society of enlightened humanoids for 2 million years. Think for a moment, you have got 200,000 years, and 100,000 of it where you actually seeded properly. 50,000 years ago is really where it all began, in Lemuria and other related places, yet I just told you that the Pleiadians have been at it for 2 million years. Therefore, you're looking at a society that is 8 times older than yours. 8 times. They went through what you did almost to the T. They grew up and matured the way you did, and there was a time frame for them too. They went into graduate status, like you're doing now, and everything changed for them. 2 million years they have been around, and a large portion of that, about 10,000 years, were spent killing each other. Sound familiar? That's right, unaliving each other. Indeed, they were in the playground of consciousness, casting stones and calling names, without any elegance of maturity while in the dark. These are the very same issues you have been through. They passed the marker and they began to receive information, just like you. 3 attributes of the Pleiadians. Dear ones, their DNA is structured like yours. Only the chemical count is different. You probably knew that. You are going to find this all over the galaxy, for the principles that created here have created it everywhere. It is the basic galactic building block of life. It exists even in your solar system, and you're going to see it someday when you're able to go to all the places you are observing. You will find DNA. Then you are going to start understanding that it's a naturally occurring life process everywhere. As they matured and grew up, the Pleiadian DNA started to become more viable. The percentage of its efficiency began to increase: 44%, 54%, 55% to 66% to 77% to 88%. Let me tell you what happens at 88%. At that point, you actually start to melt with the soul. You are designed to be divine. Did you know that? I want to tell you something. You are designed to live forever. Your design is that of renewable biology. Every cell keeps going and going, especially the divinity in you. When it starts becoming more efficient, cellular rejuvenation creates new ones from the stem blueprints, no copies as it does now. This cellular structure never really gets old. You never get old. Kryon, this sounds nice, but what are you going to do with overpopulation when a civilization never gets old? Let me give you a hint. The Pleiadians have got 3 planets. planets. Does that tell you something? You learn to move around and you learn about the universe. It's not an issue and it's not a problem. It becomes a beautiful, easy choice. In addition, there is divine wisdom not to reproduce, ultimate free choice to control population freely and with collective wisdom. A Pleiadian is the closest thing you will ever see to an angel in your life. They're working at 88%. They have control over physics and it's natural, not done with devices. They have entangled themselves with anything they want to be entangled with. Entanglement used as a physics term here. The human soul is divine, physics at its core, with wise control over everything. The creator is in the soul. The creative source is the master physicist of the universe. If you are at 88% of that, you have got control over everything. That's the seed that you have inside. Does this sound familiar? What did some of the masters of the planet do that was so remarkable? Use common sense. It was their control over physics. Miracle? Perhaps. Master-like abilities are just DNA working at 88%. The Pleiadians were seeded by others. We have talked about Orion and Arcturus. These names are your seed grandparents. There is even one before those names, which you have never ever heard of. Think of the time scale and it should make sense. Your planet is more than 4 billion years old. Where have you been? You are the new kid on the block here. You are really new. Imagine what was going on in your galaxy while the Earth cooled. Do you know how long a billion years is? Imagine what went on and the life that was going through its own cycles. This is a common sense and involves good probability thinking from those who call themselves scientists. This is the only planet of free choice in this galaxy at this moment, dear ones, and each selected planet has this attribute, one at a time. You have just passed a major marker and all the life in this galaxy that has divine DNA knows about it. The signal was sent in December 2012. I want to tell you what that does. It brings celebration, hope, visitors and help. The real system of maturity begins. This wasn't a given in your probability. In fact, you pulled this out at the last moment. Spiritual evolution. The evolution begins to create a symbiotic relationship between your DNA, your Akash and your intuition. The system of spiritual evolution comes through the soul, period. It doesn't come through the pineal or the brain. The pineal senses the higher self. Intuition senses the higher self. But the soul is the energy that delivers the information. The soul is connected to the grids. Your human soul is the catalyst and always was for the graduation energy that you are now ready to receive. This ascension energy does not come in through the human portion of cellular structure. It cannot. Many planets fail and destroy themselves since an entire civilization growing up and maturing is a process of free choice through non-cellular system. Different kinds of remembrance. The time capsules that are opening, which the Pleiadians have activated, are going to be seen by several parts of you, some through the grids, but some are seen by the soul part of you. The soul part of you is only engageable as you approach 44% of the efficiency of your DNA. It is the signal to fully unfold. Spiritual evolution is going to be an increase in something that we have never talked about, but which you are starting to feel. We are going to call it soul remembrance. You are starting to remember things beyond Earth. Your main Akash only features experiences from Earth. Let me tell you something about that. What gave you information a long time ago about what happens to your Akashic remembrance when you pass over the veil? It stays here on Earth. It is in the cave of creation, in a crystalline substance that remembers or stores everything. It is like you have your own crystal and it stays on the planet. When your soul comes back, it picks up the information, puts it into your DNA, and off you go into another reincarnate adventure. In other words, your Akash stays here on the planet. So let me ask you this. If this is so, why then are some of you remembering who you were on other planets? The answer is that some of you are remembering the Pleiadian energy. Some of you are remembering that you actually went through this before. For some, it's giving you hope because you know what happened. You got to see 88% within your DNA a long time ago, and that's why you're here. The chance of that happening here actually needs this remembrance, and you are not going to miss it. Who knows how long it's going to take? It doesn't matter because you're going to be here the whole time. This is soul remembrance, not cellular DNA, Akash remembrance. Soul remembrance deals with all life everywhere. Eventually, you may even remember that you are eternal. Who were you 5 million years ago? This is going to occur to you as well. Do you want to really know where your souls are coming from? The answer is from all the planets of free choice which have graduated. They are not coming from the sky in some soul well from the creative source. source. They're coming from other places that have gone through this, dear ones. That's who you are, the pull of the future. This attribute of spiritual maturity is so attractive, dear ones, that you can't leave it alone. You know what it feels like to come to a place where you are one with God. You have been there and you have done that, and you were there first on the planet to receive the seed. Now you begin to awaken and remember a little of what it was like, just a little. You struggle with the conflicts of being a human, but at the same time you know what might be ahead and what you can do. Frustration happens, and sometimes chemical imbalances. In the last 2 years, many have even passed. Maybe some of these have been friends of yours. You weren't ready for it. Maybe they have been partners. I want to tell you something. If you haven't heard this before, they are back. The reason they left was to have a new slate now. At the refresh of the energy, they had to leave in order to pave the way for your return, dear ones. Because of what happened in 2012, they were scheduled to leave early to pave the way for your coming back. You see, there is a grand system here that is beyond benevolence. There is a system here that reeks with the greatest love of the creative source, and you can't imagine it. It's dripping with honor for you, waiting for you to become one with God. Even beyond that, as you increase the percentage of efficiency of your DNA, your soul brings in more creative energy from the central source. That's the involvement of the human spirit. It's way beyond biology, way beyond consciousness, as you handshake with the creative source of the universe. Timing, always the issue. I complete the simple story of the soul. Now you know what's happening. You might want to review the words. How long will it take? Well, too long, dear ones. This is just the beginning. Balance, compassion, and wisdom will start to be seen. When you reincarnate next time, you're going to remember who you are. That's my promise. You may not remember your name or what human you were, but you will remember that you were here and you are back. You're going to pick up where you left off. You will be a wise old child beyond any children you know today, and you're not going to make the mistakes you did this time around. None of them. This is new wisdom, and it comes in with you. Much more than the normal Akash. Soul remembrance will keep you safe, and your children will carry what you carry. That's the way it is going to work. Basic soul remembrance will propel it forward, past peace on earth into graduation. Is this too esoteric for you? It's okay. I have got time for you to understand. Let's check in with me in about 1,000,000 years. And so it is. Kryon. I really do hope that you enjoyed this channeling. I think it was fascinating, actually. I'd love to know your opinions in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed deep dives, please visit my other channel called Miriam Rose. With absolute gratitude, love and light. Cosmic kisses to everyone till next time. Bye for now.